The Babolat Pure range, we have spin, power,
and control.
Which one's right for you? Keep watching and we're going to explain. These are the three main pillars of Babolat's range, the Pure Drive, Pure Strike and Pure Aero. They're all very different and they're all for different players.
Yeah, so we've been testing them all out individually, and this is our video just compiling all that information to give you a broad sort of oversight of how each of the rackets play, who they're for and whether they're going to be right for you or not.
So Babolat itself as a brand has loads of tennis heritage.
Yeah, so they're one of the oldest brands in tennis and have had loads of milestones across their storied history.
Do you know what year they were founded?
I'm going to guess 1878.
75, not bad.
3 years out.
And who founded them?
That was Pierre Babolat.
And current CEO?
No idea, but I do know that it's still a family business.
It is Eric Babolat. 5th generation. Babolat, still a family business based out of Lyon in France, and a real innovator of tennis. So Babolat was made famous not by its rackets, by its strings.
Yeah, and they hold a very impressive record, don't they?
Do they?
Yes, so the Babolat VS Touch, or what it's now called VS Touch, the Babolat Natural Gut String, has been the string in tennis rackets that have won 100 Grand Slams.
Yeah, it is the winningest tennis string.
Yeah, we just had an argument off camera about whether we should use the word winningest or not.
I thought it went well.
It's great, there we go.
I dislike it.
So, and that's interesting because the factory in Lyon that makes the natural gut string, it still uses the same recipe today, and it's still one of the most widely chosen natural gut strings available. So it is still a real key part of their heritage. The actual rackets only came about in '94.
I did not know this, and I didn't know you knew this either.
So they're a very young brand in that sense. Yep. So the fact that they're competing with kind of the longer heritage of a Head or Wilson and are really like one of the big three tennis brands is very impressive.
Yes, and this is interesting because it does lead to your point about Babolat and their branding, doesn't it?
Yeah, they should be. They used to be the young, fresh up and comer, and they've kind of dialed that back, and maybe they should dial back into their roots. Can I say dial any more times? Yeah. As well as innovating that first natural gut string, they also created the first electronic stringing machine.
That's amazing.
It was actually a racket diagnostic centre that measured all the racket stats. So RA or RA.
That is Babolat.
Babolat.
I didn't know that. So Babolat, thank you for RA. It's great.
So Babolat made RA. They had they actually had a phrase to babalize a racket, and that was when they coated natural gut strings, and that was when wooden rackets were actually put into a press. That was all because of babalizing your racket, and that included adding leather grips and new synthetic grips onto rackets.
I have nothing to say other than that's very
Elastro-cross to make natural gut string last longer, also Babolat.
What can't Babolat do?
The Babolat Pure Drive, the power racket of the range, came out in 1994. It was the first kind of complete range Babolat ever made, and I really like it.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, the Babolat Pure Drive is, and has been for a long time, the most powerful tennis racket you can buy. It is designed for players who with short, punchy swings, who want to just generate as much power as possible, and that's kind of Babolat's thing, right? For club players, the Pure Drive is really a great option, and you see it widely at clubs, and there's a reason for that, because of its stiffness, because of its bigger sweet spot. You get good comfort and power when you're slightly off centre. You don't have to nail it, and you still get some good kind of speed off the racket, and that's why it's so popular. As a club player, the Pure Drive is a really great option. You see it widely at clubs because of its kind of forgiving nature, and kind of off-centre hits are quite easy to deal with. Yeah, and don't think that means it's a beginner racket or a basic racket. There's plenty of professional players who use it on the tour, and I am an esteemed company because we have the Pure Drive's #1 fan standing right here.
Yeah, professional players and me, or club players and me. You can put me in whichever bracket you choose.
Club.
Depends on weight, right?
Yes.
75 kilos, Pro Tour.
75 kilos, probably Pro Tour.
100 kilos, club player.
110 kilos. So if you have a short swing or you need a racket that generates power, looking for something that's stiffer, maybe play a little more doubles, so you kind of looking like top of the bounce, quick short swings, rushing the net, kind of punchy put away volleys, Pure Drive a really great option for you.
Yeah, and we will go through this on all of the frames, but it's kind of Babolat are quite good because they standardise things quite a lot. So in all of their frames, they have a tour level weight, a standard weight, which is around 300 grams, a team, which is slightly lighter, 285 in the Pure Drive, a light, which is 270, and in some of them, and there is one in the Pure Drive, there is a super light. So there is essentially a Pure Drive for everyone.
How heavy is a super light?
So super light, they all drop 15 grams, so the super light is 255.
So knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And if you didn't get enough power from the Pure Drive?
You can use the Pure Drive Plus.
Plus is for plus extra power.
So what they've done, they've taken the standard Pure Drive and they've made it a little bit longer, so it's 27.5 inches, and as we all know, that extra half inch will make all the difference.
Absolutely.
So it means there's a Pure Drive for everyone, whether you're a junior or Fabio Fognini. There is a Pure Drive racket you can use, and that's the big challenge, is finding the one that the weight fits.
Yeah, and this video is all about helping you choose. So what would those kind of weights talk to in terms of what type of player?
Obviously it's really individual and everyone's a little bit different, but as a rule we say the stronger the player, male players, taller players, heavier players are going to go for the heavier rackets, probably the tour or the standard weight, and then as you younger players, juniors, female players might look towards the lighter ones, but like we said, it's entirely down to personal preference. The one thing we would say is make sure you're using a racket that you can fully manoeuvre.
So if you are looking for a power racket that offers some comfort, the Pure Drive range is a great option for you.
Certainly is. Whoa! Next we come to the Pure Strike. This is the 4th generation Pure Strike, first released in 2014, where it replaced the Pure Control. This racket is designed for players looking for more control.
Funny that.
Yeah, more versatility. It's a thin-beamed, manoeuvrable racket designed to allow you to play with lots of feel and lots of spin. But
it's still kind of Babolat-y in the terms of it's still quite stiff, actually, in comparison to other control frames.
Yes, the Pure Strike is kind of a bit of an all-rounder in so much as because it's so manoeuvrable, because it's stiff, it kind of has a little bit of everything built in. So you've got the thin beam so you can throw it around, you've got the open string face in some of them for a bit of extra spin, and then it's a stiffness for a bit of power and control.
Yeah, and I think that's important because there's a whole range of Pure Strikes, and selecting the right one for you is kind of what we're going to get onto.
Yeah, so we'll start with the standard weight. So we have a Pure Strike 100, we have a Pure Strike 98, which is a difference in head size, and they both come in different string patterns.
Yeah, so the Pure Strike range is a little complex as opposed to what we just went through with the Pure Drive. We have some 97, some 98, some 100, some different string patterns. So the top of the range, which I think is a place to start, the tour level racket is the Pure Strike 97.
Yeah, so the 97 just means it's got a 97 square inch head rather than 100 or 98.
Yeah, it's slightly heavier. It's definitely for a more performance player looking for that control because they're hitting big.
Yes.
And if you want more detail on that, we have a separate review on the 97 itself when it came out.
Which you really liked, didn't you?
Yeah, I did really enjoy it.
Yeah.
So if the 97 isn't for you, if it's too narrow, too smaller head size, you can drop down to the kind of core of the range, which are the Pure Strike 98s.
Yeah, so the 98s come in 2 string patterns. There's an 1820 and a 1619. The main difference just being the more open string bed, the 1619, just generates a little bit more power and a little bit more spin. So it's for players who want to play with a little bit more power or a little bit more spin. Whereas the 1820 denser string bed essentially enables get a bit more control at contact and allows you to hit flatter and in theory a little bit harder.
Yeah, and then we go to the Pure Strike 100, so the 100 square inch head. Again, it comes in 2 string patterns. We have the new one in this latest generation, the 1620, and we have the more traditional 1619. So we then drop down to the Pure Strike 100. I say drop down, the head size are obviously slightly bigger at 100 square inches, and we have 2 different string patterns and 2 different weights. So we have the new 1620 at 305 grams, and the traditional one that's been in for a while, the Pure Strike 100 at 300 grams, and a 1619 string pattern.
Yeah, again, both really nice rackets. I absolutely love the 1620, really fun racket to play with. The 100 is kind of probably the easiest to use of all the Pure Strikes we talked about so far. It's got the easiest string pattern and it's got the biggest head size, so in theory should be the most accommodating for your average player.
We then drop down the same we did in the Pure Drive. We have the Pure Strike Team at 285 grams and the Pure Strike Light at 270. I think it's important to kind of finish on the Pure Strike here that whilst we said there's the 100 and the 1619 string pattern being slightly easier than 98s, these are all kind of smaller adjustments and adaptations of a control frame. The Pure Strike is the control kind of silo, franchise. What else do they call it? Family. It's all different names.
I don't think silo is the word.
they call them silos. They do.
Silos where you have missiles and grain.
And tennis rackets.
So silo just means like a collection, like a...
Think of the Pure Strikes as different sized nukes, all in their silo.
So basically, you're walking around France, you go, there's a silo over there, it could have a nuke in it, it could have grain, or it could have a stack of Pure Strike.
The Pure Strike range is for that person looking for some control, looking for feel and control, manoeuvrability, probably a higher level player on average than a Pure Drive because of that kind of narrower beam, more flex, so you've got to put a bit more into it, but when you do, it gives you something back. Yeah,
longer swings, wristier swings, just players looking for a little bit more feel than just pure all-out power.
And now we have the Babolat Pure Aero, the spin machine, the spin king. Think Carlos Alcaraz, Leila Fernandez, Felix Auger Aliassime.
Che Guevara.
What?
Revolutions.
What about it?
Creates loads of revolutions, Che Guevara.
Sure. Create revolutions on the ball or revolutions in geopolitics, depending on whatever you're talking about. The Pure Aero is a spin monster.
Obviously, the other player who made the Pure Aero range famous in the first place is Rafa Nadal, and we left him off that list because he actually has his own Aero racket. This is called the Pure Rafa Aero, and kind of fits alongside the rest of the Pure Aero range. Yeah,
so in that Pure Aero Rafa, there are two versions: the Origin, which is the Nadal spec, heavier one, and the more kind of user-friendly. I really like it. 290-gram option.
Yes, but they're going to play exactly like the rest of the Aero range, which we're going to talk to you about right now.
So the Pure Aero range, as we've said, all about creating spin and also power. It's stiff. It has an aero modular frame which allows it to be faster through the air, get you more racket head speed and generating spin. And I think that's an important point because spin rackets don't create spin, they allow you to create spin, and the Aero is no different. It gives you the opportunity to really put those revs onto the ball.
Yeah, exactly. So the rest of the Pure Aero is just like the rest of the Babolat range. We have a 98, which is the racket, which is the racket that Alcaraz uses.
It is exactly what he uses, very unusually.
Yes, and then we drop down, we've got the Pure Aero 100, which is just the Pure Aero. That is a 100 square inch, 300 gram, standard weight racket. We have a team, we have a light.
We've also got, like in the Pure Drive, a Pure Aero Plus. Now this is the same as the 300 gram version, exactly the same spec, but half an inch extra on the end to give you that even more power.
Yes. The Pure Aero range, like we said, is massive spin. It's for anyone who's looking for spin, power. Again, look for the racket that works for you. Weight is important. There's no reason why anyone should be using a particularly heavy one or a light one. It's what you prefer. But if you want massive spin, you can do it whether you're a junior or Rafa Nadal.
So there we have the full rundown of the Babolat Pure range, the Drive, the Aero and the Strike, with an honourable mention for that Rafa Aero in there too.
Yeah. So the big thing is obviously getting the right racket for you. Really, really simple. Just to sum up, we've got power, we've got spin, and we've got control.
Which one would you have?
So I really like the Strike, so I'm going to go Strike almost every single time. My long swing, my wristy swing, my need for feel, my need for speed means I'm going to have to go with the Strike.
That's why it's so inconsistent, all that whippiness.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit different, very different. My number one would be the Pure Drive, 300 grams, easy access to power, comfortable, and because I've used it for so long, I actually find it quite easy to control as well. But a very strong honourable mention, I've only used it a couple of times, but the new Pure Aero Rafa, the 290 gram version, the lighter version, not the Nadal Origin one, a really great racket, one that I love to use as well. Yeah,
so we have reviewed almost all of these rackets individually. The ones we haven't, we will be getting to, of course. So if you want more information about a particular racket, how we got on, which ones we liked, pros and cons and all that kind of thing, please check out those videos. Otherwise, thank you for watching.
Yeah, and as always, if you do want to demo any of these rackets and you're in the UK, they're available to purchase on our website, and you have the option of demoing them at the checkout as well. So if you aren't sure which one to get, you can buy one, demo it, send it back, and then change to a different one if you want to try some different ones.
So there we go. There's Babolat fully reviewed, comprehensively reviewed for you. Thank you very much for watching. See you soon.